Hi, good evening. I'd like to welcome you to Poem Praise 2. I do thank you for tuning in, and peace and blessings be upon you and your family this evening. Now, we are going to get right back into For Men Only. We are in chapter number 3, Windows Open. This is take 2. And the side chapter of this section is emotions. So let's get into take 2, which is entitled Invasion of the Pop-Ups. And it goes like this. Not only do women have multiple thoughts running at once, about half regularly experience uninvited thoughts of feelings from the present or the past that pop up and interrupt their day. For the men who live with them, that means that they often interrupt ours too. More than a man, a woman will regularly hit by more than a man, a woman will be regularly hit by unresolved emotional issues or hurts from a conversation or concern from last night, last month, or 10 years ago. To the man in her life, it might seem that her past keeps crowding into her present, that she's choosing to dwell on something that's better left alone, or that she's choosing to irrationally rehash or return to a matter that he thought was closed. But for her, it's not irrational. In fact, if this is the way she's wired, it would be irrational for her not to address something that has circled back around. According to our national survey, about half of all women are interrupted by these pop-up thoughts or feelings multiple times a week, even multiple times a day. Among younger women and those with children at home, the proportion again was higher at between 55 to 60% of survey takers. Perhaps not surprisingly, the percentage rose as high as 80% among women who describe their relationship as shaky, and those in difficult financial straits. Some women say that emotions from experiences in recent or even distant past, particularly negative ones, sometimes rise up in their minds. These may be triggered or may seem to arise from nowhere. How often do you experience this? Choose one answer. Never, 3%. Rarely, 50%. Often, up to several times a week, 39%. Very often, it's common in my day-to-day life, 9%. Due to rounding, total slightly exceeds 100%. Okay? For the ones out there adding what I just said. It's not that women are helpless victims of these mental and emotional intruders. They're just more likely to have them and to have difficulty getting rid of them than men. One woman in a focus group put it this way: a lot of women will say, don't play that tape in your head. You have to stop. Stop. Don't go there with that thought. It's easier said than done, but at least we try. Actually, we do this too. Does that comment sound certainly familiar to you? I realize that we men can understand this struggle intimately because we have a visual parallel. Every man knows that what it is like to have tempting images pop up in his brain, unwanted. Just like our wives have strong emotional memories or concerns pop up unwanted. As one woman wrote in, if all men are truly visual and can't help it, then I think they should please understand that women are truly verbal and can't help it. For example, the things men say to us are in mental tape archives and are as real today as they were the moment they were spoken. The things men say to us are in a mental tape archive and are as real today as they were the moment they were spoken. So that's why the involuntary long-term nature of this can help explain why more than one husband has felt blinded when his wife brings up something that happened 2 years ago, surprised by a sudden flare-up of emotion attached to a memory, stung by unexpected heart that turns a conversation into an argument, or dismayed that she got hurt by something seemingly outside of the moment, mood, or context. If you're like me, you might think that she is unwilling to let go of something, an old offense or memory or grudge, that she's choosing a emotional response instead of a rational one, as if the two were mutually exclusive. Hint, for women, they're not. What's more likely is that her past is emotionally invading her present, and her current reaction is a quite reasonable response to the fact that she is feeling blindsided, surprised, stung, or dismayed by the current experience of an old problem that has never really been resolved or healed. Or perhaps there's some current troubles that keep invading her awareness, an open running window that keeps painfully popping to the fore, even if she doesn't want it there. If her past is emotionally invading her present, her emotional reaction is a reasonable response. Where's the close button? A little X, you get to close it out. And that brings us to the most important piece of this dynamic, that most women find it difficult or impossible to close out and ignore unwanted thoughts and feelings. We're all heard that women don't compartmentalize like we do. But I never before understood what that meant. To illustrate, let's go back to the conversation in our friend's kitchen. I too had several things on my mind, including that I should check on the kids or in the backyard, but when I compared notes with Chpt, we realized that I could handle those thoughts much differently than she could have in the same situation. Jeff, I'm talking with Alec and think, should I check on the kids? Yeah, I'll do that in about 5 minutes. Then I simply put it out of my mind, like on a 5-minute mental timer. I don't give it another thought until the timer goes off. Chpt, how do you do that? I would love to put a thought on a timer and not think about it, but it's impossible. I simply have to function around the awareness that the kids need to be checked on, or my friend is having a hard time with their marriage and need me to call her or whatever. It never really goes away until the issue is resolved. Of course, when I told Chpt my timer function could actually put an issue that I didn't want to deal with on hold and out of my mind for weeks, her interest in my brain turned to alarm. Our survey shows that the vast majority of women just aren't wired to easily ignore unwanted thoughts. As one woman said, the best I can do is to minimize the other windows, not close them. I'm not actually thinking about those things every minute, but they aren't gone either. And they often pop back up and become active when I don't want them to. The vast majority of women just aren't wired to easily ignore unwanted thoughts. On those occasions when you have multiple emotional windows open, how readily can you usually dismiss negative thoughts and emotions that are bothering you? Choose one answer. I can do it easily. 19%. I can do it, but it takes effort. 22%. I can do it with effort, but those thoughts, feelings sometimes pop back up until whatever is causing them is resolved. 36%. I usually can't dismiss them entirely until whatever is causing them is resolved. Those feelings are open and running in the background. 23%. For more than 4 out of 5, closing out their unwanted thoughts either required effort or was impossible. For women under age 45, the number rose to almost 90%. The vast majority indicated that those thoughts would never really go away, or would at least keep returning until whatever was causing them was resolved. Which means that our usual manly advice to just don't think about it is about as helpful as another shovel of sand in the Sahara. We can relate. Here's a way that you can almost certainly relate to what this feels like. Imagine that our company just lost its biggest client, and at 5:00 p.m. on a Friday, your boss says, "I'll need to see you in my office first thing Monday morning." If you're like me, your weekend is ruined and anxious thoughts wreak havoc until Monday arrives. Your normal ability to compartmentalize is compromised by the magnitude of the concern. Women aren't that dissimilar. It's just that their magnitude threshold is far lower than ours. Just as you couldn't close out the anxious thoughts about what might happen on Monday, she can't close out all sorts of open windows. That gives you a bit of a glimpse into how your wife feels when you have a bad argument in the morning and are at odds with each other. You can usually go off to work and put it out your mind. But she may be completely unable to. The awareness that something is wrong is stalking her thoughts all day until the argument is resolved and she is reassured. You can usually go off to work and put an argument out of your mind, but she may be completely unable to. And I'm going to end this take right there. Our next take is going to be real life examples. Real life example. It doesn't have an S. That'll be our third take on chapter 3. And with that, I was looking ahead. We're definitely going to finish up chapter 3 and be well on to chapter number 4, which is your real job is closer to home. So I'm going to put this mark, well, yeah, I'm there, but I'm going to put this mark right here where we're at. And I want you and your family to be blessed. Have a wonderful rest of the evening. Until I speak with you again here on Poem Praise 2, I want you to be well. Take care of yourself. Till next time. Later, y'all.